The next speaker considers himself as your average old-fashioned Ilonggo guy. He is a fifth-generation member of a family business and heritage advocate. Born and raised in Bacolod City, but with deep Ilonggo roots. He is with us today to share his experiences about the business industry and why business is considered as a vocation. Let us welcome to the stage, Rafael Nicolai Uitiapo Gamboa.
As a fresh graduate, a lot of my friends, when they get asked what they do, the typical response is always, "Good morning, I work for this corporation." Or, "Good morning, I work as a junior financial analyst for this bank." Or, "Good morning, I'm in law school." Or, "Good morning, I'm working on my medical career." Me, I say, "Good morning, I'm here to sell you ice. Nagbebenta po ako ng yelo." And why is that? Simple. My family's business is the oldest ice plant in Iloilo. That, I can say, is my part of this city's heritage. And historical preservation, I believe, is essential because it serves as a testament to our shared human experience. This city was very important in the past, and even more so today. So once again, good morning. And it is through the preservation of our city's history and analyzing it and learning from it that we can understand where we came from, who we are, where we are headed and why we are headed there, and how the actions of those who have come before us have brought us to where we are today. Now, as said previously, I'm just your average old-fashioned guy. I'm no historian. I'm just a guy who listened to a lot of stories growing up. But each and every individual, no matter how minuscule, has the right to know about and appreciate their history. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that each and every individual has the responsibility to do so as well. And hopefully, one day, if we are lucky, we will all be stories that future generations will talk about with admiration. So I spent a lot of time in Iloilo growing up. As said previously, my family has run an ice business in the city since the 1930s. And believe me, we have seen a lot of things transpire over the years. During the earliest years of the family business, this city was still under American rule. Our city, Iloilo, was a major entrepot from which sugar could be brought to the world market. And a few decades ago, in fact, there was a train that went all the way down to the port, right through La Puz. And we were already there, servicing the needs of the numerous fishing boats and all sorts of individuals who needed ice. Have you ever eaten ice scramble or halo-halo in this city over the last 90 years? Yeah, there's a good chance that it was from us. And so, with the coming of Uncle Sam, more progress happened in this country over 40 years of American rule than in 300 of Spanish. And business was doing great. And then a little man from Austria moved to Germany, and he started causing a right old fuss. The war came, and my great-great-grandfather had to flee to the mountains of Haniwai and Maasin to escape the Japanese. My grandmother can still remember the stories told her about how her mother was forced to eat monkey and shoot wild birds just so they wouldn't starve. This was, of course, the only period of time where my family was not operating the business, from 1941 to 1945. Because as it turns out, some of my great-great-grandfather's workers were spies for the Imperial Japanese Army. Isn't it wonderful to remember your heritage? Because my grandmother told me those stories, I can stand before you today and tell them to you. So anyway, the war ends in 1945, and this city suffers much damage from the Second World War. We were still operating, of course. People still needed ice, fishing boats needed to keep their cargoes fresh and all that. But American financial aid meant for reconstruction of this country went to us. And it helped us rebuild from the damages of the war. Then, in the post-war boom of the 1950s and 60s, business was doing great, even better than before the war. So much so, in fact, that we were able to expand to other businesses, like sugarcane and fish farming. But what I personally remember of Iloilo growing up was that the airport wasn't outside of the city. It was still within the city limits. And there was no fishing port once you got off the boat from Bacolod. It was all there. Hundreds and hundreds of boats, as far as the eye could see. No esplanade either. It's just a port. Look at it now. So pretty for kilometers and kilometers. Today, this city is a dynamic, progressive, and beautiful example of what the modern Filipino can build and achieve if he decides to put his dreams into action. But when my grandmother was a teenager, Iloilo was just recovering from the ravages of the Second World War. And things are great today, but 80 years ago, all of the businesses in the city proper were being run by the Japanese for the benefit of their war effort. And 50 years before that, you had Ilonggo revolutionary heroes like Tia Patron, Graciano Lopez Haina, Teresa Magbanua, and General Martin Delgado, fighting for our right to determine our own destinies. In those times, my family consisted of a man who had just gotten off the boat from Amoy. Even great titans of industry, like the Lopez and Araneta families, come from Iloilo. Gentlemen whose achievements in the field of business have affected the lives of the common man in this country for more than a century. So, whenever you're in Araneta Coliseum, look down to your seat and remember, that's Ilonggo. To give you a more local and personal example, I'm the 5th generation of my family to work for the family business, and I am unique, I believe. Or at least it's rather uncommon for people of my generation to actually want to work for the family business. I was very hard-headed about it. I chose the family business because for me, working for the family is a way for me to not only dedicate 100% of my time to helping my family and not benefiting some nameless corporation, it is what brings me closest to my heritage. My mother, she wanted me to go to law school, become a lawyer. I said, no, Ma, I want to sell ice. Mabaligya kuya yelo. My predecessors had to navigate the complex history of the Philippine Islands ever since we started this business 90 years ago. I want to learn from my ancestors because so many valuable lessons can be garnered from just analyzing the past. This is the way that I think I can grow the most personally, and I encourage each and every person here to take a look at their heritage, and maybe you can grow as well. My family, we learned from our history. The war and the sugar crash taught us the necessity of keeping yourself secure. Because you never know when some small thing in some obscure corner of the world from bats turns into 2 weeks of no school, which turns into 2 years of staring at a screen. Our past serves as a compass, guiding us as we navigate the complex and ever-changing landscape of the present so that we can create a better future. Isn't that the great goal of the people of today? To make things better for the people of tomorrow? And well, I hold the belief that part of the reason why our nation was hit so hard by COVID was because we neglected to implement the lessons of the last great pestilence, the Spanish flu. Google it. They were putting masks on horses even. When will we learn? And well, I also think that protecting our history is vital for the sake of our society's collective memory. Our historical sites and structures, from Calia Real to the glorious mansions of Haro and Molo to the customs house on the water, carry within them and within their very foundations the memories of previous generations, giving us a connection to those who have come before us, the sacrifices that they made, and the stories that they told. that have shaped the world we live in. Like me, I live in the family's ancestral house. My great-great-grandfather built that house, a man I never met, a man who I owe everything to. And I live under the same roof that he did all those years ago. If we do not take care to preserve our history, we do not only lose a vital link to our past, we also risk repeating the mistakes of our ancestors. We may even forget who we are. Now, I'll tell you the truth. At first, I was a little hesitant to come to this event. Having just completed my education in July, and given that I have graduated so recently, my recollection of talks at university is still pretty sharp. And I remember that it was mostly bright, young, enterprising individuals who brought new ideas and groundbreaking technologies to the table. Me, being passionate about history, the past, and an advocate for heritage and historical preservation, I felt that my own personal passions would be out of place. And then I remembered that, well, bright, enterprising individuals are movers and shakers, and that means that these people will be important, very important. Very important people should know about our past, because very important people play a very big role in shaping tomorrow. And I hope that when we're shaping tomorrow, we don't forget yesterday. I'll admit, our history has not been perfect. It has been marked with both high and low points. It is up to us to remember and ensure that we do not fall into those low points again. There will be low points, of course, that's inevitable. But learning from our history, studying how our predecessors dealt with the great issues of their day, can help us deal with these issues that we face and come out better and stronger. So let's remember our history. Let's preserve whatever we can. And let's keep these links to our past alive so that we do not ever forget where we come from. We do not ever forget how we got here. And so that we know how to get to where we want to go. Thank you, Gabe.